speakers all make seven figures in today's day and age. I think that's the watermark that many of you should shoot for. And I'm excited not about his income. You saw his wonderful family, and he does keep a faith, family, and business, and I believe his business has been blessed because of his faith and because of his family. I've seen it happen time and time again. Some people just work their way through it, some pray their way through it, and the blessings are obvious in his life. And he's a great businessman. He works at a different style than I do, and what I appreciate most about him is you can never learn anything from somebody that agrees with you, although most of us want to be surrounded by people that agree with us. Do you understand? Yeah. If you're a Christian, you want to be surrounded by Christians because it feels right. If you're a Democrat, you want a whole bunch of Democrats around you because it makes you feel right. If you like a sports team, boy, you dress up like them today, and maybe you're wearing Atlanta Falcons gear, and you want to go find some Falcons fans to hang out with, not the other team. You want to surround yourself with people who think like you think, feel like you feel, because it's easy, because it's comfortable. And I'll tell you, you'll never learn anything from somebody that agrees with you. Every time you learn something, it'll be with someone that challenges your way of thinking and makes you consider other options. One thing I like about Rob is we run our businesses, we run the same system, we believe and have the same leaders, but we have different styles, and they're both really successful. Really, really successful. And I keep trying to pick things up every time I'm around this man, learning about him and his business. And he has ran the Million Point Base Shop for years. And many people can see themselves like him because he didn't have the fastest start. He may go into a story a little bit today for you. And I came out like a cannon. But I'll tell you what, both ways win. That's what I like about this business. No matter who you are, where you are, whether you're Speedy Gonzalez and you shoot right to the top, or whether you're the slow and steady, whether you're the turtle or the hare, everyone can win. And I appreciate this guy more than I can say. And he's been the MVP so many times in this company. Please help me welcome to the stage, Robbie Dave.
Coming down to the final of the, how's this event been so far? I want to, just real quickly, before we go any farther, have us show our appreciation for those who have put this on. We've got some people who have worked tirelessly to make this happen. And for the most part, it's a volunteer staff. And so, let's real quick, just start back at the tech booth. We have a good friend of ours, Mike Barnes, that came over. Please give him a hand. Running the, what was that? Steven. Somebody he's actually gone over and above what we're paying him, so we appreciate everything he has done. Doing all the PowerPoint, John Thompson. Running and putting that whole crew together is Daniel Baker. We have great teammates, Chris Clark and Crystal and DJ and all of them who were running registration of them. And I know I'm missing some people, but please give them a hand for helping out. Out there, a lot of people doing registration while we were in here listening, and so we appreciate the sacrifices that all of you make. And our band, John and Julie Radaball, and I know they're in the room tonight. They did a great job last night. We appreciate all that you guys have done. My son-in-law Jay and my other son-in-law right there running the camera right now. I didn't know he could do a camera. Good job. We appreciate all that you guys have done to make this event possible. Part of the theme of this event was man in the mirror, right? To look at yourself in the mirror, because your success is determined by you deciding, as a process of looking yourself in the mirror, to make a change. Now, when we decided that that was going to be kind of the theme, of course, Michael Jackson has a great song out there called Man in the Mirror. And we thought that it might be fun if we had, both my daughters are dancers in the ballet world, and we thought maybe we'd have one of them choreograph a little dance to go along with the song Man in the Mirror. But then my granddaughter decided that she wanted to choreograph a little dance move for the song Man in the Mirror. So let's go and show this real quick. You guys can get an idea of where we're headed. And see if you guys can match these. So, that's as far as she got. She's got a couple little moves in there. One of the things I love about this business is it truly has an opportunity to be a family business. When Jeff brought all the families up here and our whole, and I know our families in the business, but even just me physically seeing the impact. I remember coming to this business and they would say things like, if you will pay the price to go build a business, that you will have a chance to travel the world and raise your children in an environment that most people will never have an opportunity to even dream about. That they wouldn't even have the basic understanding of how to dream big enough to dream about the type of life that we get to have inside of this company when you build it. They said I remember hearing leaders like Ed Milet and Jeff Levitan. He was always a few steps ahead of me, and Greg Cap and Rich Gawley, and they'd say you travel the world and you get to build friendships with some of the greatest business leaders that our country has to offer, and your kids will grow up with their kids, and it becomes like family. And I'll just be honest with you. In the beginning years, I liked the sound of that, but I just kind of thought that was convention talk. But over the years, as we built our business and we got to go to Hawaii and travel, every year with these guys and travel the world, and everything that they said was true. Right? Our kids grew up. When Jeff met Lacey, she was the size of Giselle. And today, to my kids, Jeff Levitan isn't Jeff Levitan. It's Uncle Jeff. Right? Great Cap isn't the great Cap. That's Grandpa Cap. Right? Ed Milet isn't Ed Milet. That's Uncle Ed. Imagine your kids getting to grow up in an environment where, because of what you do, you position your family into a situation where, as a result of the experiences that they have, how they think is completely different than the rest of the world. And I took that same, I learned that here in this company, through the experiences that we had. I took that same thing and transferred that into every other area of my life. In our faith, we transferred and put our family in a place that we believed would nurture that in the way that we came to believe that it needed to be nurtured. In every area of our life, we have been able to position our family to have the most excellent life and understanding of what it takes to win, first in their faith, then with their families, and then with our business. And if you talk to my kids, they are very clear in every single one of those areas. When it comes to this business, we brought them up, and my daughter's an SMD, and my brother's an SMD, my other daughter and son-in-law's on their way to SMD. They've got some SMDs underneath them. They're building this business. And I was talking to the SMDs the other night in the leadership meeting, and one of the things that has been interesting to me to watch how this plays out is as a result of us building our business and then our kids growing up in the business, they have had really an unfair advantage over the average person that comes in. Or even when I came in, or the way Jeff or Greg or any of us came in. See, we all came in and heard the company story, and it sounded good, and we took a step of faith. And it had to be a step of faith because no matter how good it sounds, you don't know for sure. Right? There's a little period of time for those of us who have stuck it out where we were wondering whether it was for real or not. Right? You get on the internet and you read weird stuff, and so you got to go through the process of that filter and deciding whether or not you really think that what's true is what we're hearing from our leaders and the company, and just using some common sense that no, this company's for real, or are we going to listen to what we read on the internet, and which is basically the new bathroom wall, right? Anybody can write anything they want on there, and so you go through a little period of your career. You stick around a little while, and you fairly quickly figure out that that's all false, and that this is a real legitimate company, right? And that's one of the things I was told we old people in the beginning was, we owe you a real and legitimate opportunity, right? We can take a look at Aegon and Transamerica and the $800 million company that they are, and their position in the industry, and it's pretty easy to see that it's a real legitimate company. Then we owe you examples of success, and you've seen many of those throughout this weekend. And so you go through this little period of time where you question out. Then you go through, I know the company's for real, but can I do it? Is it really going to work for me? Is there any catches or gotchas that they haven't told me about? Is it really as viable as they say it is? And you got to go through that process, and you work through it. And so much of this is a mental, just kind of a mental gymnastics that you go through as you are starting to climb the ladder. And the reason why it's hard is because if success was easy, everybody would do it. Right? I mean, successful people do go through and put up with things, and unsuccessful people are unwilling to go do and put up with. And so, you're right, because I want you to just think about this. You are not going to casually become wealthy. Right? You're not going to, it's interesting, a lot of times people's goals and their actions don't match up. If we were just look at time, for example. I got a lot of people that will lay out goals that are big goals, and they got big visions, and right, they want to make all these things happen, and they want these incomes. They want to make $100,000 or $200,000 or $500,000 a year, and then they'll ask questions like, okay, so these are usually newer people. So these Tuesday night meetings and Saturday morning meetings, how long do I need to go to those for? How right? Or, how many hours do I need to work? I just want you to think about just the meeting part. You want to make a 6 or a 7-figure income. Right? Most of you? Yeah. Now your job pays you what it pays you. 30, 50, 70, 100, whatever it pays you, right? $1,000 a year. How many days a week do they expect you to come to show up? 5 days a week, right? And when you went to work for them, did you ask them, okay, listen, you're paying me $50,000 a year, and you're telling me I need to show up Monday through Friday. How long do I have to do that for before I get to stop? Did you ask that question? But for some reason, we thought it made sense to ask that question about our business that we want to go make $500,000 a year at. How long do we have to show up? Twice a week? And we actually thought that made sense. And there's the beginning of the transformation of your mindset that's got to start to happen. Right? when we come on board, that's why we say this is a self-improvement program. Because we got to totally transform the way that we think. You have that video ready? We're going to watch this real quick. We showed it to leadership the other night. It's something that's been out for a while, but I want to, real quick, watch this one more time. One more degree and you're steam, right? Then you can push that little blue engine up over the hill and the How many guys are wishing you were in front of the stage, just kind of listening with the hot chocolate and the blankets? She really did do that, by the way. I did have to then hire tutors so my kids could learn some other stuff. But they did learn a lot through that process. It's amazing, you know, we had a leadership conversation the other night, and we talked about the fact that in this business, you're going to learn everything that you need to know in a fairly rapid period of time. Usually your first 3, 6, maybe 9 months, you know, and whether it's through your field training, which is one of the better ways of learning this business, is actually being out in the field, doing it in your offices, you know, talking to associates who are ahead of you, and one-on-one conversations, and going to Wealth Bowls and Super Saturdays, and a culmination of all those things, right? Sooner, in a fairly short period of time, you hear everything there possibly is to be said inside of this business. One of the best ways that was talked about earlier, and I think Frank Cho did an incredible job of describing it, is elite circle. And I know in the spring there's been a lot of elite circles going on, and I hope you don't pass that up, but I think that probably, in a condensed period of time, is where this business is taught the most effectively. And so do not miss elite circle if you have one coming up in your area. But you're going to learn everything that there is about this business in a fairly short period of time. The question is going to be, how long is it going to take you to implement it? They say that power is knowledge, and one of my favorite sayings is that that's not true. Applied power is knowledge. There's a lot of people who know a lot of stuff that don't take action on it, and therefore they get no results. And it makes no difference in their lives. And that's probably one of the more true things about this business. When I came into this business and I struggled the first 4 years, I shared the other night, I had probably, because of the circumstances of coming on board with this company, and I lived within 10 miles of Rich Thawley. And he was actively traveling to different offices, doing a lot of training in the early 1990s. I started in 1993. And so I had an opportunity to probably listen to him train 5 to 10 hours per week on our system and our business from day one. In my situation, probably within 3 weeks, I had heard every key to success that our company, that needs to be heard in order to win. But over my first 4 years in business, I made a total of $20,000. See, knowledge does you no good until you decide to apply it. At some point, you've heard a lot of things this weekend. At some point, you're going to have to get to a place where you are really sick and tired of being sick and tired. Where you are sick and tired of hanging out at 211 degrees. And frankly, for most of us, 211 degrees would be progress. Right? Some of you are going to hang it out at 72 degrees. Right? I'm just comfortable. Right? It starts to get a little bit hot. I turn the air conditioning on. It starts to get a little bit cold. I turn the heater up because I just want to stay comfortable. I promise you, you're not going to get where you want to get in the business world being comfortable. You're going to have to turn up the temperature, and at some point, you're going to have to decide to go that one extra degree. And the interesting thing about that one extra degree that I found in my own career was that what I was doing when I was sitting at somewhere under 212 degrees, and then when I crossed over and we hit that 212 degrees relative to this business, and it took off, it really wasn't that much different. It was just a little bit more. It was just with a little bit more focus, just a little bit more concentration, a little more discipline. There was a little more consistency. That was the message I gave the other night with the leaders. If you're really going to make it, the first thing you're going to have to do is you have to become a student of this business. You are going to have to learn how to run this system. And you're lucky because within this room we have, in my opinion, some of the best leaders in our company that understand our business inside and out. And so you're going to have a chance within your own offices, if you haven't already, to really master our system and our business. Right? That's the first step. You got to learn it, but that's going to happen rapidly. But then the second step is you're going to have to consistently apply it. An analogy that we used the other night that I heard early in my career is our business is like trying to get a plane off the ground. And if you've ever flown or had any experience with that, you know that in order to get a plane from standing still to go down the runway and to take off, you have to go full throttle. You can't ease into it. You can't, get up to cruising speed and expect the plane just to take off. You have to go full throttle. And then you'll get lift. But then the next challenge is you got to make sure you keep it at full throttle until you get all the way to cruising altitude. Because if you go full throttle and then you let off a little bit when you get, say, 1,000 feet off the ground, what's going to happen? You're going to crash. Which is not good in a plane, because you're going to crash and burn most likely, right? So you got to keep it on. What happens in our business a lot of times is we come to an event like this, we get inspired, and we go back, and we hit the ground running. And then the first obstacle hits us. Or the first adversity hits us. And by the way, there's not a lot of things that we can guarantee you in this business, but one thing I can guarantee you is you're going to get hit with some adversity. And you're going to get hit with some obstacles. And the picture that you, especially if you're newer, if you've been around, you already know this a little bit because you've dealt with this. But if you're newer, the picture you have in your head right now of what your business career is going to look like from today to success, however you decide to define that, if you do stick around and you do end up making it, when you reach that success point and you look back, it ain't going to look anything like what that picture in your head is right now. It is going to be filled, right? People talk to the ones who have dealt with it, right? They know. It is going to be filled with adversity and obstacle courses and mountains that you didn't realize that were not put on the map ahead of time, right? And detours and you know, pits in the, you know, road pits in the wall. You're going to want to quit 1,000 times. Why? Because if success was easy, everybody would do it. That's part of the path you go down. And I say this because I know you're going to deal with it, so I want you to be mentally prepared for it. I don't say that casually. Like, that, you're really going to want to quit. Like, you're really going to have a conversation with yourself or with your spouse. Or you know, if you're smart, you're going to have a conversation with your leader. Unfortunately, too many people decide to quit, and they never have the conversation with the right people that can actually get them back on track. But it's going to be a serious conversation. You're really going to doubt whether or not you can make it. And it's going to be your ability, as you reach the fork in the road, over and over and over, as you go down this path, it's going to be your ability to make the right decision, to choose the right path every single time. Not just one time. You've got to actually make the decision correctly every time. Because you're going to be given lots of off-ramps from this road. It's the same thing in your faith. You get many decisions, and you got to make the decision correctly every time to have a lifelong faith. There's lots of off-ramps. You know, if you read anything about faith in America today, you know, if you go to Europe, you know what churches are over there? Museums. You know why they're museums? Nobody goes. Because over time, the majority of the people have taken the off-ramps. America's not that far behind it. I've found that God's principles are true. They transcend not only our faith, but I've found out that all these things that I learned in business before I even understood those things about faith, and I look back on them, they were all God's principles to begin with. And so you're going to have to stay on the road, and it's narrow, and it's not easy, and it requires a commitment, it requires focus, it requires dedication. And it's going to be up to you. No one else can make the decision for you. Nobody else can choose to stay on the path other than you. You have total personal responsibility. But the good news is, it's in your hands. It's one of the things I love about this business. There's no chance to it. Our system is proven and is predictable. And as a result of that, it's profitable. And if you choose to stay on this path, and you choose to follow this system, it is inevitable that you will succeed. You just got to make the right decisions. You got to stay focused. So let's talk about a few things. And I'm going to I want to give you one tangible focus. How many guys have heard of something called mini days? See, you've got to compress activity. You've got to compress time frames. And when we say you've got to get after it, you've got to get after it not like an employee does at a job, because most of us are not that great of employees, to be honest with you. Some of us think that actually you have a right to be that. Here's the reality of it. If you chose to be an employee, you should be a great employee. They give you a job. Now, if you want to go choose to do something else, then go choose to do something else. But you should put every effort into everything you do, whatever circumstance you find yourself in. Right? But we haven't always, that's not how we were taught, to be honest with you. It's not how we were taught to think. And so, early on, one of the leaders of our company came up with the idea of, what if you took a day and you turned it into 3 mini days and decided you want to accomplish in one complete day. You broke that down into a 6-hour segment and just did it in that 6-hour segment. And then you did it the next 6 hours. So you're accomplishing 3 days worth of activity in one physical day. What would happen? What would happen is you would compress your time frames and you compress your activity and you'd create friction. Anybody know how a bomb really is made, right? It's just, it puts some atoms in it and it creates friction. And when enough friction happens, there's an explosion. That's what happens in your business. When you compress your time frame, when you compress your activity into massive amounts of activity in a short period of time, it creates so much friction that you end up with an explosion in your business. But you got to do it consistently for a period of time. And so here's what it looks like. Let me ask you a question. Michael Stokes said it earlier, and I believe it's one of the truest things. It's one of the things that my team hears from me on a consistent basis. There's only 2 things that matter. There's only 2 true activities in our business. Everything else is kind of time wasters, or makes us feel like we're busy. You're either on appointments, or you're creating appointments. Everything else just kind of makes you feel like you're in the business, but you're not really. You're not, right? Get on your computer and run proposals and all those things. There's some necessary things in there, but those are not the things that's going to truly generate that. That's not those are the activities that will really explode. I kind of have a rule of thumb with my team. I said, if you're doing more than an hour's worth of admin work, or you're calling the home office or sending emails or whatever it is you're doing, then that means you must have enough business in the pipelines that you're following up on that you can hire an assistant at that point. Or you can go in with somebody else and hire an assistant, right? And so you're either on appointments or you're creating appointments, like Michael said. And so in those things, what do you think is the better activity? Creating an appointment or actually to be on an appointment? Be on an appointment, right? So when it's time for you to go to work, if you're on an appointment, well, that's easy. You're on an appointment. But then you got to take a step back. What if you're going in and you got your set work hours that you create? You should have a schedule that you create. And it's time to go to work at my WFG, especially if you're part-time. You got to be more focused. You got to, right? This is your business, and your business gives you total freedom once you have a business. But until you have a business, you actually need to treat it like an employee. You got to treat it like a boss. Your boss isn't a person, though, in this business. Your boss is success. It's your goals, the things that you want to accomplish. And those things will demand that you put a certain amount of activity and effort into achieving them. Right? And so you've got to set it up like you would as an employee. You've got to set your schedule up. So if I'm going to go to work at 6 p.m. tonight, because I have a job from 9 to 5, at 6 p.m. you hit the ground, and If you have an appointment, you go on an appointment. If you don't have an appointment, what do you think is the step before that? What would you do to create appointments? You make phone calls, right? Ideally, either through your own list that you have, or through the list of some teammates, because that you're fast starting, you have some people to call. But let's say you didn't really get off to a correct start, and you haven't learned how to prospect, or you haven't focused on it, you haven't committed to it. And so you got no one to call. Well, if you have no appointments and you have no one to call to set appointments, then what's the next step?
Prospecting.
You gotta go prospecting. And that's how you dictate your day. If you had a 6-hour day, right? We break it down. Take it Elmo real quick. If you break it down your days, Elmo?
Is there, yeah.
Oh, it's on up there? Okay. So if you break your day down from 6 a.m. to 12 p.m. noon, that's day number 1. Day number 2 is 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Day number 3 is 6 p.m. to 12 a.m. Those are your 3 mini days. How much activity? Let's say you had no appointment, you had nothing else going on, and let's just say you're full time so you can take advantage of all 3 mini days. If you focused on prospecting, if that was your full-time job, you were going to do nothing else. You were just going to go and start meeting people and exchanging business cards and picking up names and numbers. How many prospects should you be able to get in a 6-hour period of time?
10.
How many? 20, 50, 10. How about 2? Should you be able to does anybody feel like 2 prospects in a 6-hour period of time is out of reach? Right? Most of us know we can go knock that out in about 10 or 15 minutes. Right? How many phone calls, if you were really focused, right? And maybe you're brand new, you don't know somebody else, but those have been around for a little bit, and you have done these things, and you have been focused for moments of time in your business. How many phone calls, if you have lists and plenty of people to call, how many phone calls should you do? How many contacts where they actually pick up the phone should you be able to make in a 6-hour period of time? I'm hearing 30, 40, 50, 100. Could you do 5? Is that too many? Can you make 5 phone calls? How about appointments? Let's say you have 6 hours. How many appointments should you be able to do if you're just stacked back to back? How many appointments should you be able to do? 6. 5, 6 appointments? How about 2? Can you do 2 appointments in a 6-hour period of time? What I was showing early on, if I go out and just do 2 prospects, 5 phone calls, and 2 appointments per mini day, that when I looked up 90 days later, if I did it every day, 3 days a week, 3 times a day, right? 3 mini days a day, 90 days later, I'd have an explosion in my business. Here's one of the powerful things of a mini day. There's some psychological things that help you out here besides compressing time frames. One, it helps you to analyze where you are. See, right now, if you're not running a mini-day system in your mind or on a calendar, if you are focused, which might be a big if, but if you are focused, when you get to the end of your day, you look back on it. And you either look back on it and feel good about it because you know you did what you set out to do. Right? You had a good day. You did some prospecting. You made some phone calls. You had some appointments. You made progress in your business. Or you get to the end of the day and you did it. You know that you allowed procrastination to set in. Distraction to set in. and you just weren't focused. You just didn't make the decision to do what you needed to do that day. And so you get to the end of the day, the problem is you then go to bed. While the motivation is like, man, I need to do something different tomorrow. I got to change it. You go to bed, you sleep on it, you wake up in the morning, and you feel better about yourself. You forgot about the fact that you didn't do what you should have done yesterday, and you just kind of go through it. And what happens to most people that are not succeeding is you start stacking unsuccessful days back to back because the sleep of night makes you feel better every night. Makes you feel like you're going to do better. However, if your first day is from 6 to noon, and you start mentally getting yourself into a place where that's my day, I got till noon to accomplish these things. I got to go get 2 prospects. I got to make sure I do 2 appointments. I got to make sure I make my 5, not 5 calls, 5 actual contacts. So that's congruent with the 50 calls you heard earlier. You have to make about 50 calls to actually talk to 5 people, right? And so you get to noon. If you start assessing your first day at noon, and you look back on it, and you know that the day didn't go the way you wanted to go, here's the good news. And you know you got to make a change the next day. Here's the good news. It's only noon. You got a whole, your next day starts the next minute. And at 12:01, now I'm going to focus in because I know I've assessed myself. I've assessed my progress. I know I didn't move. I know I'm not on track. I'm not moving my business forward. I'm letting off on the throttle and my plane is going down if I don't change my direction of my business and my actions immediately. And you get to change it that second. And at 12, not even 12:01, 12 and 1 second, a new day starts. And now you can go do your 2 prospects and your 5 phone calls, and you can make a course correction and get back on track because you didn't lose an entire physical day. Now you get to 6 p.m. and you look back, and for some reason, you still didn't hit what you want. Guess what? It's only 6 p.m. What's the best time to contact someone and actually get a hold of them? After 6 p.m. What's the best time to sit down with a husband and wife in the market who actually have jobs? After 6 p.m., right? That's the worst case scenario, day 3, even if you messed up your first 2 days, now you get to finish it off with prime time. When people are home and you can make phone calls and they're not distracted by work and all those things. But here's the thing. Do you think that's easy? It's simple. Our system is very simple. There's only 6 steps and 8 filters to it. Right? You learn a script and learn how to talk to people and pick up names and numbers. You learn a script and that works and you practice a little bit and you get good at it, and all of a sudden, almost everyone you call makes appointments. Right? You learn how to do it. It's a simple business, but it's not easy. Because within those simple steps are activities that are going to require you to overcome your fear and your doubt and your procrastination issues and all those things. And that's where it goes back to self-improvement. You're going to have to start changing who you are and changing the way that you think so that you can get to where you want. Because here's what I can tell you. I already know prospecting is probably not your favorite thing to do in the world. I already know that you probably don't like making phone calls. Anybody like making phone calls? Fairly honest group. There's a few people not being honest. Right? Now, don't get me wrong. I know there's a few crazy people that actually like making phone calls. Right? I remember trainers and leaders would come in. You know, I love Jason Time, but Jason Time. I love trainers like that. They're fun to listen to. But they try to get you to convince yourself that you actually like doing some things that you don't like to do, and right? Because the mind can't, tell the difference between real and imagined. Whatever Kevin said the other day, all that garbage, right? Listen, that's not cab drivers, I'm just kidding. But I'm just telling you, I listen to all those guys try to trick, all the little tricks to trick my mind into it, and to teach me how to love to make phone calls, right? Hype me up to make phone calls, and you'll start to learn to like it. And I'm just going to be honest with you, 24 years in this business, not one time did I ever learn to like to make phone calls. I hated it every single time. Now don't get me wrong, when I get into a session, get 3 or 4 calls into it, it was comfortable. Like it was okay for that moment. The second that session was over, and I just let 10 minutes go by, my fear and dislike of making phone calls and the thought that I was going to have to do it again on my next mini day scared me to death all over again. The same fear, the same butterflies, the same make me sick even thinking about having to do it. Over and over. And that feeling never went away. However, the feeling of knowing that I was put in a place, in a position, within a company that could give us everything that this could give me. And the thought of not taking advantage of it scared me more. The thought of being financially strapped scared me more. The thought of not accomplishing what we have a chance to accomplish inside of this company. The thought, here's really what it came down to. The thought that, one of the things I believe strongly in is I don't think everybody needs to be in WG. I just think you need to do whatever God has put in front of you. For some of you, and for many people out there, this will be something totally different than WFG. And they will live a very enriched life, and a very joyful life, and a peaceful life, because they are in God's will in whatever they're doing. However, I knew I was put here. And I knew that it was my responsibility to work as much as I love my leadership, and I wanted to work hard for them because I had good leaders. As much as I loved our company, I wanted to work hard for them because I believe in our company. I love our clients, and I want to work hard for them because I believe in helping people. And I love my teammates, and I want to work hard for them because I wanted them to win. Beyond all of that, though, the most important thing for me is I want to make sure, as the scripture said, that I'm working as if I'm working unto the Lord. That's my responsibility. That's my position. It's not for the financial reward. That just happens to be the byproduct of following down the path that I was put in. And I would venture to say, if you're in this room, there's a chance you're supposed to follow down that path. See, somehow, for some reason, someone decided to give you a phone call. And then you decided to come show up to the meeting. Right? And then you decided to come on board with the company. See, there was, now, and don't get me wrong, God may throw He may want you to go a different direction. You may just be here for a moment of time, to hear for some specific reason. I don't know what your future entails. That's between you and your Creator. But I know whatever path you're on, you're supposed to take advantage of it. And you're supposed to go all out. You're not supposed to do anything halfway. I'm going to end with this because we're getting short on time. One of the things that leaders get asked a lot is, how do you define success? Right? What is success? For me, it comes down to the parable of the talents. You know, to paraphrase it and shrink it down without going into the long version, you know, there was a master who had 3 servants. He gave the first servant 5 talents, the second servant 2 talents, the third servant 1 talent. Told him to take the talents and go out and work with it, do something with them. The one with 5 talents took his talents out and put it to work and came back and turned it into 10 talents. The one with 2 took it and put the work and doubled it and turned it into 2 talents. But the one with 1 talent, he took it and what did he do? He buried it, right? And he was fearful. You know, he wanted to be comfortable. He wanted to be in a comfortable position because most likely the one with 5 who went, he probably there's probably a little bit of risk to it, right? Maybe there's a chance that he could have lost his talents if it didn't go right. So the one who had the 1, he wanted to stay comfortable, so he took it and buried it. And when the master came home, he called them all in, and you know, the one with 5 reported that he had doubled it, and the one with 2 reported that he had doubled it. And to each of them he said, "Well done, good and faithful servants." But the one with the 1, he said, "What did you do with yours?" He said, "Well, I didn't want to lose your talent, so I buried it, and I didn't do anything with it." And the master said, essentially, "Away from me. You know, get away from me." At some point, we are all going to, this life, you know, Jennifer Lee actually talked about this earlier, right? We're learning how fast this life is. You know, because we follow celebrities, all these people that we grew up with, Sting and all the right celebrities died this year. I think she said 128 celebrities died. You know, names that we all know, right? You know, scripture say that on earth, you know, our life is like a vapor. We're here one minute, gone the next, right? It's very short. At some point, you know, and if you don't believe this, that's okay. Whatever you believe is fine. But I believe I'm going to meet my Maker. And the only thing that's going to matter to me when I face him is, does he say, "Well done, good and faithful servant," or does he say, "Get away from me"? And I believe strongly that our actions will dictate what he says that day to us. In every area of our lives. But part of that is, what are you doing with the opportunities that he gave you? I hope when you leave today, that you leave having made some commitments and some decisions, that you are going to go out, all out, in your life. One of the things I love about being associated with Jeff Levitan is that dude goes all out in his life. There's nothing casual about it. He does not play casual. If you want to get to where someone like that is, you got to do what they do. That's what you get a chance to be. You have been given, inside of this company, you are given a clean whiteboard from a business perspective to go design your life. And you're also given a pretty good roadmap to follow. You just have to decide whether or not you're going to go do what you need to do. We love you. We appreciate you. We're glad you're here this weekend. And we look forward to 2017 with you.